you?
I'm good, Austin. What about you?
Good, good. In Hong Kong, it's not the best right now,
Nice.
but looking forward to visiting you guys in Switzerland.
Well, looks like you have better than weather than we have, but
Yeah,
I heard it's not all good.
yeah, the weather is great the past few days, but COVID isn't the best right now over here.
Crazy.
It's really exploding. So I guess what we're trying to do is create content that will let people here focus on the more fun things in life, such as watches and horology at large. And so yeah, looking forward to visiting you guys end of the month. And I guess let's start. I saw you last November, and I was completely blown away when I visited your factory, your manufacturer in Schaffhausen. I didn't even think about how much work went into a hairspring, like that's in this watch. And I think that's something that, again, the average person in the industry doesn't really know how much you guys do in terms of, in terms of what you guys do. And I have a question, like you guys pretty much founded the brand, I'm not founded, reinvigorated the brand about 16 and a half years ago, right? Or 16 years ago. Was it like that 16 years ago? Or was all of this in-house stuff, like, was there a huge evolution? Like what was the evolution basically?
You're right, Austin. I think a lot of people don't see Moser as an independent brand, a boutique brand, but they don't know the history of it. It's important to know that Moser is a very old brand. It was founded in 1828, so it's 194 years old, and huge history. Maybe we can talk about it later, but I think your question was more about where I am here in the manufacturer. We have 75 people, and as you're right, the great grandson of Heinrich Moser relaunched it together with other entrepreneurs. I wasn't there back in 2005. It had been 20 years before that where there was very limited production. So really there was like the rebirth of H Moser in 2005. And at that time, there was nothing. They pretty much restarted with history, with a few good ideas, with the family involved. But then they had to getting the inspiration from the past and start from scratch. But I think, frankly, I came in 2012. We took over with my family the brand, which was struggling at that time, to be honest. And independents were under the radar. Everybody was, questioning quality, reliability, sustainability. So it was not the time that we know now with independents are like, flying and walking on water. It was not like this back then. But I think I was lucky enough to take over with a very interesting base. Mm-hmm. There was already a big part of the manufacturer. We, of course, reworked it, optimized it, grew it as well. Diversified it, but there were great movements. And I think for me, that was probably the biggest asset that we had when we took over. Amazing perpetual calendar movement. I think quite a clear vision and codes for the brand, and which are things that are important to me in terms of design, in terms of functions, in terms of how you interpret functions. So everything was there. It was not done very well from what I mentioned before, quality, reliability. But we came with a certain experience in that field and really, focused on that in the beginning, in really trying to turn around, building a base for this brand, so that we have something strong enough to build on it.
Great, and it's paid off clearly. I mean,
it's an amazing time now. I think for many of us, not only Moser. I think many different ones. I think what's very different with us is our level of integration, as you mentioned in the beginning. Here we are 75 people, and we do pretty much everything on our movements. We produce hairsprings for ourselves for about 25. It's growing. So many brands come to us. Big brands and independent brands to get the hairspring, which is the heart of the watch. You know that very well. You mentioned it. It's really where time is created. That's where you get the precision, the isochronismus of your watch. You need to master it. If you want to create a good watch, you need to master it. There are 5 companies in the world who can make them, and I think we are the ones who are really top of the league in terms of customization, in terms of high level of quality hairsprings. We don't do the mass big volumes. We do all the special, the 3-dimensional, the diversification of many brands. So I think we really mastered the most strategic part of the watch, and that's super exciting. not only because we're building a brand, but also because we try to push the boundaries in terms of innovation, in terms of precision for ourselves and helping other brands.
Yeah, and again, that's a testament to everything that you guys have done. I mean, I still one of the things that left the biggest impression on me was actually visiting precision engineering, because before you actually see a hairspring, no one thinks about the amount of work, precision, and the tolerances that goes in. I still remember it's like the tolerance is like 0.1 microns or something, and if you're off by that amount,
plus minus 0.05 microns, yeah, you're good.
Insane.
And a small mistake there by a tenth of a micron can have an influence on the run of your watch of a few minutes. So you can allow yourself to be off by a lot, because otherwise the watchmakers get crazy. They can regulate your watch. Eventually you have a watch that just is not precise enough.
Yeah, and people don't think about that. This hairspring literally started off as a thick rod of metal, and
it starts as a formula. I mean, it's a very crazy alloy of different materials mixed together, and then you get those big bars, and then you need to stretch them until you get those very thin round wires, and then you make them flat with that precision. That's when they flat that we have this plus minus 0.5 microns. But you need the material, you need the knowledge, you need specific machines. That these are not machines you go and buy off the shelf in a store. These are machines that we had built on our specs, and you need the right people. We need amazing people. You met Stefan, you met Andreas, and many others who are mastering the production of the hairspring, and they are as valuable as everything else. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it's a lot about the people. Of course, you need the magic formula, you need this material, you need to have those machines. But if you don't have the right people, it's not going to work.
Yeah, and I also remember at your manufacturer, I was also blown away with how young everyone was and how diverse your watchmakers are in terms of male and female, right? It's like there's so many women watchmakers out at Moser, and that's again something.
Why shouldn't be? I mean, they are. You need to be extremely precise, relaxed. You need to be focused. And I don't think it has anything to do with gender. I think we have. I mean, our master watchmakers, the best on, for example, the perpetual calendar, the perpetual moon, the chrono, the tourbillons are ladies, and they're doing an amazing job, and they're training actually the others. So, frankly, it's not about gender. It's really about skills and passion and focus. And we have a lot of amazing ladies working here.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and it's clear that you guys take this ethos like with precision engineering and everything you guys do, and apply it towards pretty much everything that you guys do, right? Like it still blows my mind that you guys managed to brand a brand based off of the lack of branding for a lot of and that's
a kind of branding, right?
Yeah,
but I mean, you're right. It's funny. Last week I worked on the we have a keynote for Watches and Wonders, and the topic that we chose for H Moser was what does it take to be an independent? And actually reflecting on this journey of being independent or becoming independent, I was thinking, of course, people think of independent as, oh, you're very creative, you make very few watches, but I think it goes way beyond that. For me, it's really the way you produce, the way you develop, the way you communicate, and the way you sell. Being an independent is really about those 360 degrees approach. Many do one part. I don't think many do all of them. I think we're pretty good at it at Moser because we have the possibility with this manufacturer, also because we're quite, free spirit in terms of communication. So it's not just about the product. It's really trying to apply this thing about being free, being, able to push the boundaries. I think we try to look at every aspect of the business and keep that in mind. We are entrepreneurs, we are independent, so we can take risks. We have to do things differently from the others, and that reflects in everything we do here.
Yeah, it reflects in, I think, absolutely everything that you guys do. I think speaking on freedom of expression and speaking on all this type of stuff, you guys have, at least for myself, you guys have always been that brand that, at least I think, is the only brand in the Swiss watch industry that openly challenges the status quo and openly tries to do something that's different and tries to create statements. It's something that is, I think you guys are the only brand in the watch industry that actually does that. And that says a lot. And does that have to do with, part of the history of the brand, like the ethos of you taking charge in 2012? Because I think your dynamic, I mean, you being as dynamic as you are, like really shows through and lives through the entire brand, if you know what I mean, through the different lines and through all the different products that are created.
I think everybody in a way challenged a little bit, but I think maybe not to the extent or where we went with the brand. But to be honest, I think we had little choice. I think it's part also of our personality here as a team, the fact of where we come from, our history in the industry, being a family part of this industry, working with bigger brands, and this need to emancipate. But I think it really came from the values that we have, and we want to bring forward. I grew up in this industry. I'm a fifth generation watchmaker. We were discussing last week about the Meylan brand, which is still sleeping, but who knows, one day it might come back to life. This has, I think, an impact on the way I look at our industry. And when I see something that I feel is not right or doesn't follow my values, I don't mind calling it out, even if it upsets a few people. I think that's part of why they are independent. By being independent, it's not just pushing the boundaries in terms of creation and creativity. It's also pushing the boundaries in terms of, as I said before, in the way you sell. You go direct, you engage the customers, you respond to them. The way you communicate is another important one. I mean, calling out certain things that you don't like is being independent. You're independent. Yeah. You believe that the Swiss made is not right, then say it. Why do you hide behind, if the big brands are like this, then we have to be like this? No. And I think that reflects in everything we do. And as you mentioned before, the fact that we removed the logo, we removed the Swiss made from some of our watches, of course, was a big move. And a lot of people said, I mean, even our partners, they said, I cannot sell a watch if it doesn't say Swiss made on it, because the customers want to see it. But today, they don't even ask the question anymore. And many other brands are probably now, because Moser did it, asking themselves the same question. We don't need the Swiss made at our level. Of course, if that's the main criteria for you to sell the watch, which is probably in a lower level, then fine. And I mean, people spent years and millions to develop this label, and that's good for them. For us, it's different. So why not question it, or at least try and try to be different and bring something across? Otherwise, there's no need of having a Moser. There's tons of brands doing amazing products out there. We believe part of our part of the reasons why we're there is to be able to challenge and help this whole ecosystem of the watch industry to evolve. Mm-hmm. We see times are changing the world is changing all the time. Mm-hmm. And that means there's new dynamics, there's new value proposition, there's new ways of communicating, of creating, of purchasing. And sometimes big brands don't want to try. They don't want to move. They have this, it's so big. It's like this big container boat that, you need minutes or hours to break. I think we can try those things and show the way, and maybe it helps also the rest of the industry evolve faster, because we are kind of the guinea pigs, trying things, challenging things. And that's why we always love to think that we are part of an ecosystem. We need the big brands. It would be very difficult for me to make the watches that I do today without the big brands, because we don't produce, for example, the screws or the stones inside the movements that we do, and nobody does. But if there wasn't this mass through the big brands, it would cost a fortune to make those. So we couldn't afford to make the watches we do today. So we need them. But at the same time, and I don't think they recognize it, they need us. In many cases, they think we're a threat because they make too much noise and they take too much space in the stores. No, I think they need us, but one day they'll have to realize it.
Oh no, I mean, it's a symbiotic relationship, I think. Like, I mean, in my opinion, like the independents are what keeps the watch industry interesting, and it's what brings life into the industry, I think, right? Because
definitely, and there are people behind it, and there's relationships behind that. And I think that's what bigger brands forget, is the human factor. And I think the big strengths of independence, and you know that. I mean, all of us pretty well, and there's amazing relationships, friendships built with independence.
Yeah, and that's something that is very hard, and right now increasingly harder to do with big brands, right? And it's like, and part of what makes watchmaking, watch collecting so great is not just the product, but also the people. And I think you guys are, I mean, everyone at Moser, it's great. You're just passionate, love watches, and you guys all have the same ethos, basically. You live and breathe Moser, and that's beautiful, right?
But it's our baby, and we need to take the responsibility of it. I think big brands sometimes are more focused on selling, and they forget everything that goes with it, about service, about being there for the customer and good times, bad times.
Yeah.
I think the fact that the people like us, we are there. There's an issue, we take care of it. We'll solve it. And there are issues, and you know it. I mean, these are very complex products we're selling, and fragile sometimes. So there will be issues, and it's our responsibility to make our customers happy. And I think the fact that we're so involved and so close to them gives a lot of respect and trust from the community now. And that made a big change in the last few years. As I said in the beginning, for many years, the thing I was hearing was like, what's going to happen once you're not there? How can I be sure that Moser is still going to be there in 10 years from now, even 5 years from now at that time? And of course, my answer was like, I cannot promise. I do everything I can to make this brand bigger, etc. But what I can promise to you is, as long as we are in charge, I'll be there and I can answer directly to you. And I think people start to realize that we're not going to disappear. I mean, the independent brands are growing so fast, and we have, in terms of demand, but we cannot build capacity as fast as those big brands who just buy a few production lines. We're looking for watchmakers constantly. Some people say, why don't you double your production? You could sell it easily. Well, I can't. I mean, just finding 2 watchmakers this year for Moser is a nightmare. I mean, to get them trained, get the right space, and then we need to produce all the parts so that they do it. It just takes time. So that's why I think that's the strength of independence. Yes, there's probably a hype now in the watch industry. Everything can sell, but independence, because of our limitations, will remain strong whatever happens in the future.
And I think because of your relationship with your clients and because of this close bond that a lot of your clients have with the brand, it makes the brand more, recession-proof, if you know what I mean. Just because once you have a connection with a brand, it doesn't matter what happens in the market, wherever you keep your watch. You know what I mean? Just because you have a relationship with the brand, right? And that happens, and that usually doesn't happen with big brands, as sad as it is. Don't want to mention.
I think the very, very big ones, I mean, historically we see, people when there's the recession, they will go on the major brands like the Hermes because it's safe,
Yeah.
But I think if there's one in the future, and there must be eventually, then probably the independence might be a good safe bet as well.
Oh yeah, I think
it would be the first time we experience that, though.
Yeah, first time anyone experiences it, but I think it's hopefully a permanent change in the future for the better of the industry. And speaking on success, I mean, 2020 was a year that almost, it was terrible for many brands, but I think the global watch, Swiss exports were down by over 20%, I think like 22, 23%. But in 2022, you guys had 2020, you guys had a fantastic year. And in 2021, you guys had an even better year. So how did you guys manage to do that? And was it expected? Were you guys really scared in the beginning of COVID? Like what was the process at HQ in Schaffhausen during all of this?
2020, we grew by 12%. So it's not a huge growth, but compared to the rest of the industry, it was amazing. You're right. I mean, we got scared. I mean, it's been almost 10 years now that we were in a turnaround. So when you see this coming and you are a small brand and you're still fragile, of course you ask yourself, what's going to happen to us? How can we absorb this? It's not like we have reserves of cash like the big groups have been, putting margin on the side, and they have a lot of money and they can absorb the shock. They have anyway big profits. So if it's just the profits reduced or 1 year of loss, it's okay. For us, it was a different story. So I think it forced us to think and react quickly. Back in March 2020, we reacted extremely quickly in terms of how we address the issue with our customers, with our retailers, our partners around the globe, offering solutions, being extremely digital, as we have been for years, being there. We had this studio set up. We had road shows wherever we could. We never closed the manufacturer, so we continued to produce as we go. We also rethought the launch plan, but stuck to the big launches that we had. We had the collaboration with MBNF, which I think was the fact that we decided with Max to go ahead with the launch, which was a long discussion. At some point, we said we have to go, because before we were like, it's like, I have 3 doors open. What do we do? We need. Nobody's talking. There's nothing happening. Let's do it. I mean, we'll get even more visibility, and the products, if they don't sell because people don't want to buy, at least will be visible. And in the end, we sold out extremely quickly. It was huge visibility, and I think that contributed a lot to the success we had in that year. And because a lot of people discovered us during that period. It obviously helped the following months and years since then. So yeah, I think the fact that we were ready, we've been in the crisis mode for years, so there's nothing new. I mean, we have a team that is built to find solutions, not and to react fast. When we decide we do an online platform to sell direct to the customers on the 13th of March 2020, it was implemented on the 2nd of April 2020. That's a little bit more than 2 weeks. I heard that big groups started at the same time thinking about it, and 6 months later they were still discussing. We had implemented, I think the second day we had sold our first watch to somebody in the US who had never touched a Moser before. And it showed us that it worked. And then suddenly, you know, it all came together. And yes, it was a disaster for the world. It was terrible for in many aspects, this pandemic. But for us, it forced us to do certain things that we were thinking about, but we didn't dare doing because we didn't want to upset people. And we thought, we know, even though we're independent, there are things, you know, political where you feel like you can risk too much for your business. Well, there was no choice. It was just a mess. So we had to take action, and we did. And I think that's, I don't regret at all, even though we had discussions here, oh, do you think we can do it? How are people going to react? At some point, it's about survival. And when it's about survival, you take those decisions. And to be honest, I think these were the right decisions at that time.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I remember that collab. I don't think anyone in the watch collecting space that was around in 2020 forgot that collab. You know, like it made headlines everywhere. And I even remember I was at the gym when it came out in Shanghai, and I was like on the treadmill, and I had to call like Thibaut from MBNF. It was like, I need one of these. Like as soon as it was released, like it was just one of those pieces. It was a piece. Well, first of all, it was a collab that no one was really expecting, right? It was almost like, I mean, in my opinion, at least in the indie world, like the equivalent in the independent world, like an equivalent of like Supreme and Louis Vuitton collabing, right? It's like two fantastic brands that also made sense. You know, you were supplying hairsprings to MBNF through precision engineering for almost a decade. I mean, for over a decade, right? And yeah, it's just combining the best of both worlds, and it was an incredible collab. Speaking about, you know, collabs and all this type of stuff, or do you guys have anything else planned in the future with other brands or other watch brands, or are you not allowed?
We do. I'm not allowed. I can decide, but it's a bit early to talk about. Now we have a big collab for us, at least. We consider it a big collab I think we'll be launching in June somewhere. And it's quite rare that we do collabs like this. It's outside the watch industry. And it's going to be interesting. I think what I love with Moser is to try also to explore new communities, new world, expand beyond the traditional watch community, which is, you know, the people we talk to all the time, that we cater to, the one we engage the most. But it's interesting to try to expand the circle. I think it's important as a brand to continue to you know, to get the name out there and get feedback and experience new things, explore new territories in terms of, as I said, community, communication, and product. So yeah, we're gonna have an interesting collaboration with a bigger brand from a completely different world. But I think it's gonna be interesting because it's a brand that addresses, I would say, maybe a slightly younger community than ours, which is much wider as well. There have some people who are huge watch collectors, but some who have no idea what a mechanical watch is. And that's interesting to work on this also in terms of how do we address the communication, the launch aspect, talking to these people who, you know, we look at it and say, this is crazy. I mean, somebody who is ready to pay, I don't know, I'll take another example, like sneakers for $1,000. There's many kids who are ready to do that. They don't understand that a watch could be worth 50,000. Even though for me, like first time I heard people were ready to pay 1,000 for a pair of, or special kind of, I don't know, Air Jordan, whatever. I was like, really? It's crazy. So I think it's interesting to address that kind of community through a collaboration. So you get the respect because of the other brand, but the other brand get the respect because of us. It's very cool. I mean, we are in the middle of preparing now the launch, and the products are going to be amazing. Of course, very limited. But again, stay tuned. It's going to be towards the end of June, and I'm sure you like it, Austen.
Yes, I'm very looking forward to this collaboration.
I know there are a few rumors out there already. I'm starting getting like, oh, is it real? Is that happening? I heard about this collab. I don't know.
Yeah.
Might.
Well, hopefully, wow, I know it's going to be really cool because I mean, if you guys are even talking about collaborating with someone outside of the watch space, I feel like that in itself is already something that's totally groundbreaking and different, and something that isn't usually.
Well, it's risky also. I mean, there's going to be criticism.
Of course. I mean, everything that you guys do is about high risk, high reward, right? It's like, I mean, you guys made a watch that is cheap.
When we did the collab with Second, so, I mean, there was a philosophical aspect behind it. As soon as you get philosophical, it's dangerous because you know that a big part of the people will interpret it very differently. So that was amazing because, of course, there was like those hardcore like people like, I love the message, I love the idea, I want it, or I wish I could afford it, or anyway it's too limited. And there are some people who's like, this is the most stupid and ugly thing I've ever seen. So you get this huge polarization of the market, which, to be honest, 10 years ago was quite hurtful because you always think like it's cool and you have your one vision when you do something. Even if you have no doubts, you don't think people will get so upset and angry and attack it. And today, to see that and knowing that anyway, even if in creating polarization is the best thing that can happen for a brand because it stimulates a lot the discussions, the love for the brand. So when I see this. Now I'm much more quiet than I used to be, where I was like, oh my God, there are some people who are trashing us. Now I'm like, it's fine, it's okay, it's for the best. But and then we did I don't know if you've seen this year to celebrate every year we try to celebrate the 28th of February. We
I love that.
The tutorial perpetual calendar. Once again, Moser is known, as you said, debranded, no branding on the dial. No information, no Swiss made. And this time we tried to turn it around and said, there are still some people who think our perpetual calendar is just a big date. So let's put everything out there, but with a touch of provocation and humor. For some people, it's the ugliest watch they have ever seen. So for some others, it makes totally sense for Moser to do that as a limited edition. It's a capsule, just to say, this is what we are. Mm-hmm. We like to do something just the opposite, to, it's 20 pieces. I mean, it's not going to change the vision of Moser. It's just to explain, this is what we are, and therefore we can do this. But it explains the rest. And I think by pushing, again, that's what we said about pushing the boundaries, it helps better understand what Moser stands for. And we need to have something like this. Otherwise, there's enough brands out there.
Yeah. So I guess so I guess that's how you strike the balance between, your philosophical, going really out there, pushing the boundary pieces like the watch made out of cheese, the watch. You guys have done so many different things in the past. But these
are very limited. That's kind of, as you said, it's really to push the boundaries. There's what is Moser, and we try also through that to explain what are our values, our ideas, our vision, and therefore we need to do those things on the side. But these are very limited. They are created, trying to explain and express something, and sometimes leaving a little bit of space for interpretation. I think that's the fun of it as well. Yeah, and so that's through capsule collections and small limited launches, it's amazing. And I think so. I guess that's again for the next 10, 15 years of Moser, that'll probably be the same path or same route that you guys will go down, like experimenting both, like I think, so as long as we have ideas, and I think we have a very creative team, and it's always difficult to find the next thing. Every time you have an idea and it's good, then what's next? And it's becoming more and more challenging. And you don't want to turn into something gimmicky. There's a fine line between something that makes sense, that helps the brand, and doing something that you try too hard and you fall on the wrong side. And it happened to us in the past. So we will continue to try, and sometimes we'll do it well, and sometimes we will fail. But I think the worst that can happen is stopping because we think we're there already. I think there's a long way to go for the brand. We're just at the beginning. We have big ambitions. We have, again, big ideas. We have an amazing team, and it's growing. We have amazing partners around the world. We're just at the beginning of starting to open our own boutiques, and you know that well. I think that's another interesting step for Moser in terms of independence. So a lot of projects, and for that we need to not to forget who we are, what we stand for, what's our tone of voice? How do we express ourselves? How do we continue to fight for the values we believe in? Because if we suddenly just stop and say, the only thing is we have to do is just continue to produce streamliners, and just because people are ready to wait a couple of years to get them, then we lost, because it's going to last a year or two, and then we're gone. There's enough, as I said before, there's hundreds of thousands of brands out there. It doesn't need to have a Moser if it's just to do the things like the others.
Yeah, no, makes total sense. And speaking about the Streamliner, I mean, the Streamliner was, again, a piece that, even though, yes, it is an integrated steel sports watch, looks nothing like any other steel sports watch on the market, right? In terms of design language. And what was the design inspiration? How did you guys even think about doing this watch, and what was the approach? Because I remember, well, first of all, when it was launched on a gray dial, right? And it was a chronograph. I remember at Dubai Watch Week. I think that's when I first saw it, like a few years ago. Yeah, what was the design process?
I think there's a few elements there. First, it was when we bought Moser in 2012, to be honest, and I joined as a CEO on March, I think, 2013. On my desk, when I took all the things from my predecessor, there was a big roll of designs for integrated steel bracelet. And to be honest, they all looked like the engineer from IWC. I mean, I wouldn't say across the street, but it's very close. And many of my colleagues came from IWC, and all due respect for IWC, we cannot compete with IWC. I think we needed our own design. So I said, no, sorry, I think it's right. We need an integrated steel bracelet, even though it was not yet the big hype that we know now for a few years. But we said, let's continue to work on it. And we had quite a lot of iterations, tried to figure out, and that's always my philosophy. As I said before, we have a few rules in terms of design and in terms of function. So in terms of designs, the way we work on the side of the cases, the choice of the hands, the very minimalistic dials, the fume dials, the way we interpret the indexes. There's a few things that we try across the 4 collections that we have, Endeavour, Pioneer, Heritage, and Streamliner, to interpret those same things slightly differently so that it's very homogeneous. So I was like, okay, we have those. How do we get into the integrated steel bracelet, still being aligned with those rules that we have established in terms of function and design? And then we started working on it. And it's also about ergonomics, simplicity. So the monolink suddenly came into the picture. And that's where I was trying to find a key and saying, how do we make something that is actually different? And when we found the bracelet, which was the monolink, and we said, okay, how do we interpret the monolink bracelet, which we didn't invent? If we interpret it with the Moser taste, how would it look? So we did a few design iterations of the bracelet, came up with something where I felt, oh, this is cool, this is Moser, this is different. Now, how do we build around it? And then slowly the things come together. And then we start to have the case. And then I'm like, okay, we need the first movement. My dream is to have a chrono, because I think if you launch an integrated steel bracelet, that's a sport watch or classic sport. You need a classic sport movement. So the chrono would be the key. At that time, we had been working on creating our own. I wanted a monopoussoir, everything at the center, because our philosophy is about, as simple as possible, focus on the function, like the perpetual calendar that established that rule. I didn't invent it. I just set it on paper when I looked at what do we have at Moser. When we bought Moser, I said, we need to establish those rules. So let's take the perpetual calendar as the cornerstone of our functional design for everything we do. So it's, reducing it to the minimum, get rid of everything that is unnecessary, and try to make every watch look like a 3-hands watch. So let's do that with the chronograph. That was a long process. We would have probably spent a few millions that we didn't have, and we didn't know what would be the outcome. And then at that time, I knew, of course, the Widerech family quite well. We worked together and said, I think you have the best chronograph with the Asian graph. I said, can we start working together on evolutions of it? And that's how we came up with the flyback automatic. And it's just the beginning. There's going to be a lot of interesting things coming up with Agenor in the future, because we believe, as I said before, independence is also about how you work with people. It's another family based in Geneva. We have a lot of things in common, and reason why we continue to collaborate with them, but not just developing way more, way beyond that. And again, that's how we came, going back to your question, to the Streamliner. So we had the bracelet, we built the case, we chose the movement, and then we interpreted our way. It was obviously different. We knew it. It was even ourselves when, after 7 years of work, we finally, I got the first prototype. I remember putting it on my wrist. I had my brother and Nicholas with me. You know them well. And the three of us had been quite involved in the process of design. And it was before the Moser seminar. Every year we do a 3-day seminar with all our partners. And we were about to present that. The prototype arrived the first night of the seminar. So at a few days, we said, we're going to show you something tomorrow. Then we get it. And we are in the hall of the hotel, just the three of us. And we're looking at this watch and nobody was talking. We were all like, it was hard for us to interpret. Do we like it? It's so different. Is it really what we had on paper? All those drawings that we've seen over years, evolution, etc. And I think that was the reaction of a lot of people. Even the hardcore fans of Moser were kind of shocked. I mean, it's like your newborn baby. I mean, I had a couple of kids, and I remember the first one I got, I was like, I didn't know if I could talk. I mean, it's strange. You don't know that person. And it was exactly the same with the watch, to be honest. And then that's the something I heard from a lot of people. They said, it's growing on me, or I love it. At first sight, I didn't know. That's what I like about a good product. I think a good product is the product that you need time to understand and appreciate, because that means there's a lot of details. It means it's different. And that means it has the potential to become something for the long term. I'm not going to say it's going to become one of the icons. I mean, we cannot compare the Streamliner with the Nautilus or the Royal Oak, which took 40 years to become iconic products. But it has the potential. We believe so. And we are protecting extremely well. I see a lot of brands doing tons of limited editions all over the place, 10 this, 20 of that, all this, the blue, the green, the orange, our collaboration with this website, with that one. We say no to all of it. The Streamliner, if you want it in center second, it's the green. If you want the chrono, it's the blue, and you have the perpetual calendar in gray. It's going to be other things, of course. We might do a limited edition here and there, but I think the most important, if we want it to become iconic, is to protect it. Look at the history of the Royal Oak.
Yeah.
At the beginning, there was one. There was the jumbo. It was like, it would be like this. It took them years before they did an evolution of it.
Yeah.
I think people that are trying right now to milk the cow in a way by doing all those limited edition because they think it increases the price on the secondary market and all those things, I think it's wrong. On the long term, it's wrong. I think the responsibility for us, all brands, is to try to stay focused. Focus on the offer, make sure you protect your designs. And I'm not sure everybody is doing that right. I'm not sure, I don't know if we're doing right, but definitely for us, we consider that not doing too many iterations is the best way to protect it.
Yeah, I mean,
of course, I have every day people asking me for the blue dye.
Yeah,
of course. But I think we already cannot supply the green enough. So it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with you. I mean, if you fast forward 20 years in the future and you look at the launch of the Streamliner, it would be extremely messy if there was a million different editions looking back in time, you know what I mean? Instead of just like a few cornerstone models that really built the line to where it is today. And so I think—
Yeah, but at the same time, the brand is evolved. You know, we introduced the transparent logo in the recent years. So there's going to be evolution. We also reworking also the codes of the finishing of our movements. We have the sport watches like the Pioneer and the Streamliner, and we have the Endeavour and the Heritage. So you will see in the near future, we're going to have two families of movements. The same movement, like an automatic, will have two finishing. So you will see evolutions of those lines, but there's not going to be this dramatic small editions here and there all over the place. There are some brands that are specialized in that, and it's an amazing, very good business. That's not ours. Ours is about, you know, very limited, very rare, very curated collection. If we do those limited editions, there's a reason. It's a collaboration. There's a message we want to send. Otherwise, we don't do it.
Yeah. No, fair enough. So I guess let's talk about the new watches that you guys just released. The cylindrical tourbillon, what's it called? Pioneer.
Pioneer.
Yeah, and skeleton. I remember in November in Geneva, I saw like, I mean, not Geneva, Schaffhausen. I saw the actual tourbillon, cylindrical tourbillon, and I think part of the movement. But back then it was obviously a secret. But now I know it's this watch. So yeah, it looks amazing. Congratulations. So why
Thank you
don't
so
you
much.
tell me a little bit about that watch?
So yeah, it's one of the first. I mean, I have the movement here. I think it's the best way also to
Oh,
explore it.
perfect.
I don't know if you can see it well here.
Incredible.
So yeah, it's a movement that we have developed. It's taken us quite some time to, because there's two reasons here. Creating a skeleton is not easy. Yeah, I mean, there are some amazing skeletons, you know, like for example, I love the Royal Oak skeleton. I think it's, for me, the benchmark. We wanted to do something that would be the Moser, you know, with the beautiful anglage, with the trait tiré, the brush finishing, this anthracite. Also, the way you cut the movement has to have a certain language. And it took us quite some time because we had to establish that language. So to be able to introduce it in this very beautiful movement, it's a 34 millimeter movement, very three-dimensional. You have a lot of transparency in there, but also I think what helps create this third dimension is the cylindrical tourbillon. I don't know, maybe if I take it a little bit on the side.
Insane. Look at that depth.
So we obviously worked on three-dimensional escapement and three-dimensional hairsprings for years to be able to introduce it now in our first skeleton. We used it once with the MBNF collaboration, but here in the skeleton it is amazing. I'm going to try to show you the back of the movement. I don't know if we can see it here. So you can see also how beautifully open the back is, the gold rotor. So an amazing movement. I think it's the first time, as I said, that we explore skeleton movement, but it's just the beginning. So this one is not going to be limited, but of course we cannot do many. It's going to be in the Pioneer collection. So yeah, to have it in the Pioneer, so it's 120 meter water resistance. It's 42.8 millimeter. It really fits under the. I mean, it's a very wearable watch. I mean, when we created the MBNF collaboration, we have a beautiful picture here. You see this huge dome. So for me, it was really an art piece. It's something that is amazing aesthetically. But it's not a watch you go swimming with. The Pioneer with the cylindrical skeleton tourbillon could be your everyday watch, even though it's spectacular. Yeah. So I think that's what we wanted to achieve there, is to create like probably one of the most spectacular movement at H Moser, but putting it in maybe the most casual watch case we have. You can go diving with it. You can do whatever you want.
That's insane.
And yeah, it's a huge achievement, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it on the wrist around the globe of the Moser fans. The second watch is the Endeavour Center Second lime green. It's actually, you know, Moser is known for the sunburst dials. And we've seen a lot of fumé dials in the recent years by other brands. So we need to continue to push the boundaries. Here we decided to do a different finishing. It's a gold plate hammered with green enamel transparent finishing on top of it. So we have pigments that we crush, that we wash, and then we mix them. It takes about an hour to put the pigments on the dial to get the gradient of color. So it's light blue, light green. It's too early morning for me. Light green at the center, gets darker on the outside with transparency, and then you fire it 12 times to get this beautiful finishing. It will be in a steel, non-limited double hairspring, 40 millimeter Endeavour with a light kudu color strap. Here you can see it.
That green is just.
You can see the slightly purple center hand. That's our code. I remind it to the people who are not too familiar with Moser. When we do steel, of course, white gold look very similar. So we do steel. We put the purple hand at the center. And if you look at the back, I don't have a picture of the back. I think you have a double hairspring finishing. So you have a blue bridge at the back with a double hairspring. So it's a beautiful watch, putting on both cases a lot of the savoir-faire, the knowledge of Moser on the escapement side, with the cylindrical tourbillon for the skeleton, and here the double hairspring, which is another of the specialties for Moser. So these are the two key launches for Watches and Wonders 2022. Super excited to bring those. Of course, as I said, there's going to be more this year, but I think this is very cool stuff that we're bringing there.
Yeah, and I love how different both releases are in terms of design language, right? It's like, but
Yeah,
and I can't wait to
shows
see.
the how wide our spectrum is. On one
Yeah.
side, you have the this movement. It's a long development, creating a skeleton, tourbillon, cylindrical. It's a lot of work and production time and etc. The other side, like pushing the boundaries of the fumé dials, has become the signature of Moser. We don't even need to brand them anymore. In the meantime, we see many brands doing it, and I tell my team is like, oh my God, this is another brand that does a Moser dial, and I know they go to our suppliers and ask for the Moser dial. You cannot protect it, so I tell them. We need to do better quality. We need to still have the best and explore new things. So, we did different materials with the fumé finishing, and to be able now to do it with this beautiful transparent enamel, for me, it's about taking this very ancient craftsmanship, knowledge, and turn it into something modern. And I think this lime green is this beautiful modern color, but yet it's using this variation technique. And that's what I love about it. And of course, it's very difficult. You need to hammer the plates. Of course, you need to find the pigments, break them, wash them, like put the powder on it. So it's not something you can do like this, but it pushes the boundaries. It continues to help us move forward, trying to be ahead of everybody else. That's what we did with the Vanta Black as well. And what's nice with the Vanta Black is that it's very difficult to put anything on it. Moser is known about minimalism, so it helped us. But at the same time, we've worked a lot, and you've seen it with the Armory edition, to be able to have now indexes, which with a technique where we come from the back of the dial with like sandwich dials type of things. And we continue to evolve because we know people will catch up eventually. But if we stop, then they will definitely be in front of us. So we need to continue to move forward.
Oh, love it. I love the Armory collab as well. I ordered the rose gold one. Very excited to receive that. But no, I mean, it's everything that you guys are doing. I'm so excited for the future of the brand and the future, and to see where you guys take it for the next 10 years. And so, I mean, you've been at the helm since 2012. It's 10 years, so congrats on 10 years. And for an incredible 10 years. And where do you see the next 10 years? I mean, of the brand? Is it continuing, basically just continuing doing what you guys have done in the past that has worked? Or is it, about continuing to break boundaries, continuing to try new things that have never been done before in the space, and taking risks like you guys have always done?
I think it's a mix of both. I think we have found in the 12 years ago, we didn't know where we wanted to go. Today, I think we know what works. So the idea is to continue to do that, but at the same time, we need to push the boundaries because we don't know where it's going to be the sweet spot for Moser in 10 years from now. I think a brand is alive. A brand is moving constantly. Our environment is changing constantly. So we need to stay, attuned with our environment, with our world, with our community, with the new generations. And it's not easy. I mean, I used to be one of the youngest CEOs, and in the meantime, I think I'm average. So I need a younger team, and they're helping me also being aware of what's happening and stay, in touch with, the new technologies, the new ideas, the new philosophies, the new way of thinking. And so I cannot tell you where we're going to be 10 years from now. What I believe is we're still going to be independent. I hope I'm still going to be in charge. Definitely do everything I can to do that, and continue, to surprise people, continue to protect our brand, continue to be very rare. There's no plan to big jump in production. Just slowly, make sure that we continue to have the same level of reliability, quality, service level to our customers. Create new interesting products. I don't want huge waiting lists, so we need to push a little bit in terms of capacity, but that takes time to train good watchmakers, find them, make sure they stay with us. Thank God, I mean, because we're in Schaffhausen, we're on the far east of Switzerland, there's only IWC, which we work very well with. Otherwise, usually people, when they come and start working for Moser, I think it's probably for a lifetime. So we're pretty lucky. We have amazing people, even though they're young, not many leave. Even after 10 years, we still have the same people. We have a lot of new people, but they're still the same.
That's amazing. So what are your, I think a great way to finish this off is maybe giving some advice for, not advice, but like, what are the most important lessons that you've learned over the past 10 years as being CEO of Moser? And especially because you've lived through, in the past 10 years, the watch industry has experienced such a large transformation. Yeah, like what are the most important lessons and takeaways?
It's tough. I think 10 years, I think 10 years ago, we took a lot of risks. First by investing in Moser, not knowing all the problems we would face, and it was way beyond what we thought. And then the market was not what it was today, so it was really challenging. We had the Swiss franc crisis, we had the Swiss-made changes, we had a lot of things that changed at that time while trying to resolve our own issues. So it was not easy, I think, but staying focused, not listening too much on people who tell you you're going to fail or hope you're going to fail, I think is definitely the first recommendation. But I think that's what all entrepreneurs say. I mean, don't listen to the haters and the people who are going to say you're going to fail, or don't believe in your concept. If it was easy, others will do it. So I think that's the first rule. Believe in your dream and just go for it. Of course, we had the chance to be a family and not working alone there. My brother is involved. I have my father, who has been a veteran in this industry, of course, is now getting close to 80 years old, and is not involved anymore, but he was there to support us. I mean, it was a family project. So having the family behind the project and saying, we're going to do it together, even if it takes a few years, even if it's difficult, that's an amazing opportunity that I had. And I know it's not always the case. So for some other people, it's really try to find the people you can build trust with, who can support your project, you can work with. It's not always those who bring you a lot of money. Sometimes people who bring you brain power, who bring you freedom to think and really do your project the way you think about it. I recently discussions with young entrepreneurs, and they say, I have this opportunity to bring these guys, wants to bring a lot of money. I have these other guys has less money, but maybe they can help me a little bit with that and that. It's a difficult, and I cannot imagine it's difficult, when you need money, sometimes you rather take the money rather than experience and people who can maybe help you in many different ways. And sometimes it's worth way more than the money you can get there. Yeah. I think today is definitely a different time. I think I have the feeling right now, you pretty much is the golden years if you want to launch a brand. And that's probably not what I should tell people, but anything sells nowadays. And that's scary. And that's why I say always to my team, we need to protect Moser. Because today, of course, we could sell more, and of course, we could do limited editions, and of course, the price could, but everybody is doing it. Today, you can be a new brand that was born in the last 2 or 5 years. If you do an integrated steel bracelet, it's going to sell. There's products that have been sitting on shelves for years. Yeah. Everybody said we're shit, and then suddenly, like in 2 weeks, because 2 guys decide to bet on an auction, then suddenly whoosh, the price goes up like this. This is not the real market, and we have to be very, very careful there. So I think if you're just entrepreneur and you want to make money, build your small brand, and you might be short-term very successful, but be careful, because I think the real market is not the market we're experiencing right now. And it might go back to something of a new normality pretty soon. I don't know when, but pretty soon. So it's a mixed message I'm sending. I'm saying, it's the golden years if you want to do your own brand and do your own thing, because now anything works. But at the same time, be careful. It might not be like this all the time, and you might have a quick success, and then it might fall back. And that's what we all need to keep in mind. I mean, we all feel like we're walking on water right now, because all our watches are on wait list, all the prices are going up, etc. But if you don't take the right decision, it might not be forever.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic advice. And what better way to end this fantastic interview? Thank you so much for your time.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you, Austen. When we have dinner in Watches and Wonders, we'll take a few videos of the watches, and then maybe we can post at the same time.
Yes, exactly.
But you can see the Pioneer Cylindrical Tourbillon Skeleton and the Endeavour concept lime green.
Yeah, I can't wait to see the cylindrical tourbillon, because I mean, just the front crystal and the back crystal, it's just like, I can't imagine how the tourbillon.
I think it's slimmer than the one you're wearing. That's the LM101, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit slimmer, and 120 meter water resistant, which makes it very cool, because as I said, you can do everything you want with it.
Incredible. Can't wait to see that. And can't wait to see you, and can't wait to see everyone else.
Same here.
So
ready to host you here in Switzerland.
Yeah, very excited. And whenever you guys come to Hong Kong, whenever borders open.
I mean, we're in the first flight when it's open.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we miss Bertrand as well.
I know. I think now he's planning to go to Singapore. I think Singapore is opening slowly.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course, we have a team in Hong Kong. We haven't seen them for me, I think almost 3 years. I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
We have an office there. I was not allowed to go there. And we have a team of 5 people. I think Michael will be coming soon to Switzerland.
Oh, nice.
We can finally see him again. But yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Thanks God we can talk online like this otherwise.
Exactly. For technology. So yeah, thank you again for
Thank you, Austen. Thank you, Wristcheck, for everything. I think you guys are pushing the boundaries as well, doing an amazing job, and continue to do the same.
Oh, thank you. We try, and again, like for us, just the beginning, but again, without it's brands like you guys that allow us to even exist, literally, right? We don't create anything, right? If there weren't any beautiful products to take in as consignment.
I think there are tons of brands out there, but I think you're very curated, and that's what I like. Also, you know, there's a lot of tempting things, quick wins, and I think you know what you like, what has true value, and I appreciate that a lot.
Great, thanks. That means a lot. But yeah, very just excited to get out of Hong Kong and to see you guys, and looking forward. So thank you again. Take care, and
thanks everyone. Take care, Austen. Shout out to the team. Bye.
Thanks.